Welcome to the world of biology through Jaguar classes from Jagran Public School, Noida. In today's this video lecture, I will continue with the chapter Heredity and Evolution. But in this chapter, I will start with the second part of this chapter, that is evolution. And in this evolution part today, I will focus on origin of life and theory of special creation as well as other theories of evolution in brief with the Miller and Urey's experiment. In today's class, we will expecting the learning outcomes after today's class, the knowledge based outcomes according to which you will be able to know and recall concept of origin of life on earth and evolution process. You will also be able to describe and compare different scientific theories of evolution and skill based competencies or learning outcomes that you will develop after today's class. Uh, you will be able to differentiate between different theories of evolution and you will also be able to critically analyze the concept of chemical evolution theory about the origin of life with the help of Miller-Urey's experimental observation. And the other competencies that we are expecting to gain by you after today's class, that is you will be able to utilize your collaborative learning skills and you can collaborate the different learning skills like critical thinking, observation and analytical skills to solve the problems based and hot question related with the concerned topic that we will learn in today's class. Today's class and in today's class of this chapter Heredity and Evolution, I will focus on the evolution part, and in this evolution part, first of all, we will learn about the origin of life. In this topic, the subtopics that we will cover are origin of life and theory of special creation, different scientific theories of evolution, time to time, those our scientists have given, spontaneous creation, biogenesis, Big Bang, steady state, and cosmozoic. And Miller's and Urey's experiment, which was the proof for the most important theory related with the origin of life. Now let's start with origin of life and theory of special creation. There are various theories which were given by the scientists in support of origin of life in earlier time period. From the time humans existed on earth, they have been interested in discovering how life evolved. Different scientific theories and hypotheses have been put forth to explain the origin of life on earth. One of these theories is the theory of special creation, which was proposed by Harbrew et al. And supported by Father Squarege in 1548 to 1671 AD. And according to this theory, all living beings on earth are created by God or some supernatural power. And in our Hindu mythology also we are uh, learning all these facts. All living creatures and plants were first created spontaneously out of nothing. Since the time of creation, all living beings remained unchanged. That were the important points from this theory. Now, according to this spontaneous creation of theory or theory of spontaneous creation, which is also known as theory of abiogenesis, and the Greek philosopher Anaximander and Aristotle and few others believed in this theory. According to this theory of spontaneous creation or abiogenesis theory, life originated from non living decaying matter such as mud and straw. Elements such as air, water, fire, and earth have a vital force or active principle which can convert non living matter into life. This theory was later proved wrong by the experiments conducted by Francisco Redi, and due to which it was not given so important to study the origin of life. Now come to the next important theory of origin of life, and that is theory of biogenesis. In 1668, Francisco Redi performed an experiment to show that maggots arise from egg and hot meat. That he has proved with the help of this experiment of a closed jar. He has taken a closed jar and open jar where he has observed this observation, and he then proposed a theory which states that new life forms are formed from pre-existing life forms. For example, here the pre-existing life forms is that meat, and these flies have laid eggs on that, and then the life has started. Sup- According to this, spontaneous generation is not possible, and this experiment discarded the theory of spontaneous generation or special creation. His experiments were supported by Louis Pasteur, and this theory was also rejected as it could not explain the origin of life. That's why this theory of biogenesis was also rejected by, because uh, it is giving the fact that yes, because the question is still there, what is the first life form, because this theory is only explaining us new life forms are formed from pre-existing life forms, but from where these pre-existing life forms have originated, that question's answer, that theory is not was not able to give. Then the third theory, that is known as Big Bang theory, have come or arise. According to this theory, around 10 to 20 billion years ago, the universe was compressed in a giant mass, and there was a violent explosion which caused an expansion of all matter and energy. This was called the Big Bang, and Earth was formed 4.5 million years ago, and the gases released from its molten mass formed the atmosphere, according to this theory of Big Bang theory. Oxygen combined with methane and carbon dioxide to form water, and later living organisms were formed according to this Big Bang theory. And this theory was also supported by many scientists. And then after this Big Bang theory, were also some contradictory points. Then steady state theory was proposed, and this theory was proposed by Herman Bondi, Thomas Gould, and Fred Hoyle in 1948. According to this theory, the universe did not start as a result of massive expansion as Big Bang theory was saying. Matter is created continuously at a particular rate, which keeps the average density of the universe the same even as the universe expands, according to this theory. And though the universe is expanding, it cannot change its appearance over time, and it has no beginning and no end. According to this theory, the density of matter remains the same, and average of density of matter in the universe remains is the same over time is the most important point of this theory. And comes then came the cosmozoic theory of origin of life, and cosmozoic theory was put forth by Richter in 1865 AD. And according to this theory, the important points of this theory are: life on Earth has come from a distant planet in the form of a spore, in the form of spores or microorganism called panspermia. According to this theory, it is believed that spores get trapped in meteoroids which are released into space due to the collision of planets, and the spores could survive extreme conditions and were released when the meteorites struck the Earth's surface. And these spores grew on Earth, evolved, and gave rise to different organisms. These are the important points according to this theory. But all these theories could not be proved properly, due to which all these theories were discarded. And now, after these theories, the experimental proof with an experimental proof, the theory of chemical evolution have been proposed, and which is also known as Oparin's theory, Oparin and Haldane's theory. Oparin in 1924, which was a Russian evolutionist scientist, and Haldane in 1929 proposed the theory of chemical evolution of life. According to this theory, life originated from simple chemicals through gradual changes over a long period of time. That point was also given in the theory steady state also. And as the earth cooled down after the big bang, there were constant rains, thunderstorms, lightning, and volcanic eruptions. This has provided energy for many spontaneous chemical reactions, and simple organic molecules combine to form macromolecules, and these macromolecules further combine to form conservates, which were the first life forms, which were considered, according to this theory, were the first life forms. According to Operin, the conservates were precursors of living cells. We can say these conservates as not as exactly the life forms, but they are the precursors of living cells. And the conservates are also called protobions. And these conservates later on developed into the prokaryotic, and then the evolution has started from the conservates to prokaryotic cells, and then prokaryotic to eukaryotic cells. And for this theory, Miller and Urey have performed one experiment for the theory of chemical evolution. In 1953, Miller and Urey performed an experiment to support the theory of chemical evolution, how organic molecules originated in the primitive earth condition. And due to this experiment only, this theory was still is the most important theory, or we can say that most uh, appropriate theory, or most uh, of the scientists have uh, agreed with this theory. According to this experiment, which was done by Miller and Urey in four important steps. The step one: methane, ammonia, hydrogen, and water vapor as present in primordial atmosphere were taken in a closed flask at 800 degree centigrade, that is shown here. And this is the simple experimental setup that Stanley Millers have done in their experimental setup. In step 2, high volt electric spark was provided as present in primitive earth because of volcanic storms and lightning that was given by them in this flask. That electric current has been passed down with the help of electrodes. And in step 3, these were passed through a u-shaped condenser, and aqueous liquids were collected in the another flask, that is in this way. This is the condenser, and from here these vapors get collected in this uh, another container. And in step 4, they were able to collect amino acid as the end products in after this experiment. Here they get the amino acids in this uh, part of the experimental setup. The organic molecules must have gradually evolved into more complex molecules and ultimately produce the first living systems. That was the most important concluding point given by this experiment in support of theory of chemical evolution. That means this was the theory which was proved by the experimentally by the scientist also, and the theory was that is chemical evolution theory. Now here are the main points that we have covered in today's topic: theory of special creation, all living beings on earth were created by God or some supernatural power that we are believing in today's life also. And theory of spontaneous creation, life originated from non-living decaying matter spontaneously. And theory of biogenesis states that new life forms are formed from pre-existing life forms, while the Big Bang theory around 10 to 20 billion years ago, according to this, 10 to 20 billion years ago, the universe was compressed in a giant mass, and there was a violent uh, explosion and expansion of all matter and energy has been taken place, which was called the Big Bang. And steady state theory, though the universe is expanding, it cannot change its appearance over time, and matter is created continuously at a particular rate, which keeps the universe average density the same even as it expands. And in cosmogenic theory, scientists have given the statement that life on Earth has come from a distant planet in the form of spores, which are known as panspermia. All these theories were discarded, and because there was no any experimental proof given for the to support these theories. And then the theory of chemical evolution was proposed, and according to this theory, life originated from simple chemicals in the primitive Earth's atmosphere through gradual changes. And in support of this theory, Miller, Millers and Ures have performed one experiment. Which was the most important experiment to prove this theory. And in this experiment, they have done simple organic molecules were formed from the inorganic molecules by creating conditions similar to that in the primitive earth, and this supported the Oparin-Haldane theory that these organic molecules may have gradually evolved into more complex molecules and ultimately produce the first living systems. Now, to understand all these points related with the evolution of life, especially origin of life, we will talk about the evolutionary process in detail in next part of this chapter. And today, now with the help of a presentation, try to understand the origin of life with the help of this media also. And here I am playing one media presentation to make you understand about this important theory. Evolve and move. This is the presentation that I want to show you to understand the concept.
Our planet is home to millions of species of plants and animals. Where did this amazing variety of life spring from? Scientists now know that these diverse life forms have evolved from simple, single-celled organisms that lived more than 3.5 billion years ago. Over hundreds of millions of years, as more complex forms of life evolved, many of these species died out while others flourished. It's interesting to note that the Earth was formed around 4.6 billion years ago. The first life arose approximately 3.5 billion years ago in the form of prokaryotic bacteria. The eukaryotic cells arose 1.5 billion years ago, signifying a more complex form of life. Around 0.5 billion years ago, the Earth witnessed the Cambrian explosion, during which many multi-celled eukaryotes and major phyla arose. Finally, 3 million years ago, our earliest ancestors, the hominids, appeared on the Earth.
Yes. Human DNA is approximately 98.4% identical to that of chimpanzees. That is the main fact that you learn.
Based on numerous fossil findings, scientists now believe that today's humans are descendants of these early species of hominids that lived in East Africa over 3 million years ago.
And did you know? A well preserved female skeleton found in Ethiopia and nicknamed Lucy is believed to have lived in East Africa around 3.6 million years ago.
But if we all share a common ancestor, how do we explain the great variety and diversity of humans all over the world? Scientists have developed different theories to explain these differences. Some scientists believe that modern humans migrated from East Africa into Eurasia and other parts of the world. They believe that modern human variation occurred as a result of this migration. According to these scientists, some groups traveled north out of East Africa into Europe and West Asia. These groups later spread through the continents. Some traveled across Asia and reached the Americas by crossing over the Bering Strait from Siberia to Alaska. From North America, they spread down to South America. From Asia, some moved southward and reached New Zealand and Australia. These regional populations became geographically separated and slowly evolved independently into modern humans.
Now, I hope that with this presentation you will be able to understand how the life have been originated from simple to complex, and then it after origin how it has been evolved in such a complex form that we will learn in next class. And for today I am finishing my class, and I